Okay, I am live. I think I'm live, yeah. Um, Excuse my appearance and my voice. I was very cold yesterday out here in Ottawa. Back in Montreal now. And as you can see, I got a bit of a sore throat from all the cold, the bitter cold of Ottawa. It was very, very cold yesterday. Went down with a couple of friends and my wife. Met up with some people there. It wasn't easy to find them and the phones were all dying because of the cold. But as you can see here, I've got some flags up. This is very unlike me, but the globalist versus isolationist debacle is making me sympathetic to nationalism, and I don't like the whole top-down governance thing and the state and the surveillance and all that, surveillance state and all that sort of thing. So I'm, for the time being, tentatively cheerleading my country, my province, my city, the city of Ottawa. Good, wholesome families, hardworking people, blue-collar workers, truckers, the policemen who are on board with us, the people, patriots, for lack of a better word, people who love truth and freedom. So I don't know where to begin. This is just going to be a sloppy mess as usual. I guess you can see I've put up here in the top, is that the top right of your screen? I don't know. The one of the many live feeds from Ottawa. You can just see, this is from yesterday. This is from Saturday evening. I was there Saturday late afternoon for about 2.5 hours. A lot of people there, mainly in front of the Parliament buildings, but there are also people just milling about everywhere. Got some footage. My wife got some footage, and I may air some of it if it's interesting, but it's all the same sort of thing. You just see people walking around cheering, smiling, being nice to each other, and giving each other food, water, hand warmers, whatever they need. Just giving high fives, dancing, singing, chanting freedom, liberté, everything. Everything that's good and wholesome. Nothing untoward that I saw. Good vibes, very good vibes. Proud. I'm not a fan of the fuck Trudeau slogan. I don't think that's very polite. Not very Canadian, but it might be an attention grabber. It might be useful in that way. I don't know. I think it's crass. I think it's not, I don't think it's the most effective thing, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. So I got my, I mentioned the other day, I got my little mug here. I support truckers. Freedom Convoy 2022. And when it says I support truckers, it means those truckers who are not pro-mandate, not pro-globalism, not those who are serving Satan, obviously. I support freedom-loving, truth-loving truckers and workers and regular moms and pops and kids. And there were lots of kids there, lots of kids having fun, going up, shaking hands with the police, melting their hearts, I hope. So here, so this is the live stream. You can see that on YouTube, among other places. Here I made some cookies, and I put them in little Valentine baggies. Let me put this up on top. Bang, bang, bang. These are chocolate chip, homemade chocolate chip cookies that I made and put them in little Valentine baggies. And I made a little paper inside that says, "We love you, truckers," and others that are there supporting, obviously. Thanks for standing up for truth, justice, and freedom. Much love from Montreal. A lot of Montrealers there. A lot of Quebecers, a lot of people from Sherbrooke, different parts of Quebec. I met people from New Brunswick, PEI. No Newfies yet. I don't know why they're quiet. The Newfies have been quiet. A lot of people from Alberta, a lot of people from BC, a lot of people from Ottawa, obviously, and the surrounding cities and towns of Ontario. But just look at the flags, look at the people, look at the energy, look at the jerry cans full of nothing, I guess. So it's illegal to give diesel to the truckers now. And they're seizing it. The cops are seizing it every chance they get. But you can see the good vibes. You can feel the energy. When you're there, you can feel it. When you're watching, you can feel it to a certain extent also. That's why we went. God-given freedom, it says on the back of that truck there, right? It's a God-given freedom. It's not the government who gives us our freedom. This series of mine is entitled Authority. It's all about authority. By what authority do we walk the streets in front of the Parliament buildings in the nation's capital? By what authority? Well, by the authority of God. It's our God-given freedom. It's our God-given right to life and to freedom. Not absolute freedom, no. But we do have a God-given freedom. Look at these people. These people love freedom. They love truth. And whether they know it or not, that means that they love their Creator. They love God, who is the source of every good. Now, the godless baby killers also claim to love truth and goodness and all that, but they're just very confused. They are ensnared by the dragon and they need to be liberated. They are our brothers and sisters. They need to be liberated from the hypnotism or their captivity. Let's just put it that way. Their captivity. Just like any fairy tale. We have to rescue our brothers and sisters and loved ones from the evil dragon. So I encourage you to check out the many live streams from Ottawa. I encourage you to go to Ottawa if you can. Dress warmly, please. For the love of God, dress warmly because it is cold. I think that's the coldest, one of the coldest days I've seen this year, and one of the coldest days I've seen in a while. I'll next pop over and show you this email that I wrote to my local MP. Okay? I want everyone that's listening to this, and there won't be many people, obviously I don't have a large audience, but if you're Canadian or you know a Canadian, please ask them to write this form letter to their member of parliament, their representative in their riding. I looked up my riding based on my postal code. I got the guy's name and email. I sent him this form letter, which is going around on different places on the internet now, because there is a vote. The letter says, "Dear Minister, I am a resident of this riding in Montreal." I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to dox myself. "It has come to my attention that a motion has been put forward in the House of Commons by the opposition party to end COVID-19 mandates and restrictions, which will be voted on by members of Parliament on Monday at 3 p.m. as far as I know. As your constituent, I am asking that you vote to end all mandates and vaccination passports immediately." And then I just said, thank you. There's more in the form letter, the official form letter that's going around, sort of whines and complains a little bit more, but I just put thank you. Just get to the point. Bang. Sincerely, David Ross. I redacted this so people wouldn't know my address. Not that I have a lot of enemies online, but I've got one or two. I just don't want anyone coming to my door or sending me stuff, whatever. If you want my address, just email me. If you're one of my friends, one of my listeners, I'll send you my address. Not a problem. I've had people send me stuff in the mail before. It's not a problem. Not a problem. But I just don't want, there are a lot of lunatics out there. So we're going to see what happens with the vote on Monday. Is there really a vote? Or is it just a bad rumor that's going around? Like, there's so many rumors going around. We don't know what's true, what's false, right? I can hide that now. I'll keep my cookies up just because it's a nice sentiment. We love you and thank you. So let's pull up Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset. Let's put this on the top level so it's not hidden by anything. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to give us a really rough overview. I just bought this book, heard a lot about it, and I just wanted to get an idea for the tone. I don't think I'll read it cover to cover because from what I have read so far, I just skipped through it. It is very, very dry, boring, uninspiring, and a complete waste of time in my opinion. So I just did a couple of keyword searches. God, nothing. Christ, nothing. Religion, couple of matches? No. Religious, 2 matches, okay. The period of 40 days has no medical foundation. It was chosen for symbolic and religious reasons. Both the Old and New Testaments often refer to the number 40 in the context of purification. In particular, the 40 days of Lent and the 40 days of flood in Genesis. So there's an offhand reference to the sort of origin of the quarantine. The second reference, it also triggers a rise in patriotic and nationalistic sentiments. Ooh, is that dangerous? With troubling religious and ethnic considerations also coming into the picture. In the end, this toxic mix gets the worst of us as a social group. Yeah, of course, religion is bad, God is bad, patriotism is bad, nationalism is bad. I've never been a fan of nationalism until the past couple of weeks with the protest in Ottawa and around Canada and around the world. The protests are really heating up. I've never been a fan of protests. I've never seen the point of them. Maybe once in a while they bear fruit, good fruit. Most of the time, I don't think that they bear much fruit. It's just a fun activity. It's a lifestyle option. This I see as different. This I see as the people rising up. Mostly God-fearing people, but definitely freedom-loving people. And like I said, if you love freedom, you love God, whether you know it or not. I know many, many people who do not think that they believe in God, but they love truth and they love freedom and they're in love with this movement. I just saw a guy with a tinfoil hat there in the video that's playing out the live stream. Really encourage you to watch the veterans who took away the barricades at the War Memorial in Ottawa. And the cops came and the cops finally went away because they couldn't bear the shame that they were subjected to when they tried to intimidate the veterans. Check out that video. Check out all the videos, all the activities. You can see the Quebec flags in the protest. That warms my heart because I'm here in Quebec. Quebec is my adopted homeland here. So anyway, back to Klaus Schwab and his silly little book. What other keywords have we got that might be interesting? We have surveillance. How do you spell surveillance? 2 L's, yes. 33 matches for surveillance. Contact tracing, contact tracking, and surveillance. The growing decoupling between the US and China, the acceleration of automation, concerns about heightened surveillance, the growing appeal of well-being policies, rising nationalism, and the subsequent fear of immigration, the growing power of tech, the necessity for firms to have an even stronger online presence, among others. These are all part of the partial retreat from globalism, he's saying. The partial retreat from globalism. So if we want to retreat from globalism, what do we need? We need to decouple US and China. We need to accelerate. What is this? Okay, the acceleration of automation, concerned about heightened surveillance, growing appeal of well-being, rising nationalism, subsequent fear of immigration, the growing power of the tech. Yeah, we need to dig more into the context of that. But whenever there's a tension between globalism, which Klaus Schwab is championing, and nationalism, or whatever he wants to call it, or elsewhere, he contrasts libertarianism on one extreme from utilitarianism, which he champions, the greatest possible good for the greatest possible number in society, this top-down world government thing, which is a total nightmare. Does not work. That's why in the Catholic Church we have the principle of subsidiarity, because we need to give the most power to the smallest groups and the smallest authorities, okay, levels of authority, to avoid the nightmare scenario that Klaus Schwab is envisioning. No, I think Klaus Schwab is probably means well. He probably has his vision, his globalist vision. He really thinks it's the best thing, because there's no God, so we have to do a top-down control of society and engineer the world, make a paradise on earth. I'm sure he has good intentions, but he's deceived by Satan. So you can get the book, you can go through it. What's he say here? He's quoting Margaret Vestager, EU Commissioner for Competition. She says, I think that is a false dilemma, because you could do so many things with technology that are not invasive of your privacy. I think that very often when people say it's only doable in one way, it's because they want the data for their own purposes. We have made a set of guidelines, and with member states of Europe, we have translated that into a toolbox so that you can do a voluntary app with decentralized storage with Bluetooth technology. You can use technology to track the virus, but you can still give people the freedom of choice. That sounds good. And in doing that, people trust that the technology is for virus tracking and not for any other purpose. I think it is essential that we show that we really mean it when we say that you should be able to trust technology when you use it, and that this is not a start of a new era of surveillance. This is for virus tracking, and this can help open our societies. So that's encouraging. That's from Europe. That sounds like they're aware of the concerns and they sympathize with the concerns of people that don't want to be tracked. I mean, I'm giving a lot of credit here and the benefit of doubt to Margaret Vestager, the UE Commissioner for Competition. Lots of interesting stuff. So it is a very moderate and boring document, and there are a lot of olive branches for the so-called libertarians and nationalists. And again, I've never have identified as a libertarian, as a nationalist or patriot or anything like that. But I just don't want the world under the political control of godless baby killers, where there's a monolithic consensus, and if you step outside of that consensus, you will be punished, deprived of your livelihood, deprived of food, whatever, put in camps. I mean, this is extreme conspiracy theory sort of fantasy at this point, but they are building camps, COVID camps in Australia, Canada, and elsewhere, and they have shipped people there, at least in Australia. I don't know what's happened in Canada, but the quarantine camps at the hotels near the airports, I know they did that. Let's look for another keyword here, just for fun. I'm going to wrap things up here. I don't want to spend too long on this. Let's look up libertarian. Some schools of philosophical thought, like libertarianism, for which individual freedom matters the most, and utilitarianism, for which the pursuit of the best outcome for the greatest number makes more sense, may even dispute that the common good is a cause worth pursuing. but can conflicts between competing moral theories be resolved? The pandemic brought them to a boil with furious arguments between opposing camps. Many decisions framed as cold and rational, driven exclusively by economic, political, and social considerations, are in fact deeply influenced by moral philosophy. The endeavor to find a theory that is capable of explaining what we should do. The endeavor to find a theory that is capable of explaining what we should do. Actually, most every single decision related to how best to deal with the pandemic should be reframed as an ethical choice, reflecting that in almost all instances, human practices labor under moral considerations. Shall I give to those who have nothing and show empathy to those whose opinions differ from mine? Is it all right to lie to the public for some greater good? No, it is not. Is it acceptable not to help my neighbors who are infected with COVID-19? Shall I lay off a number of employees in the hope of keeping my business afloat for the others? Is it okay to escape my holiday home for my own enhanced safety and comfort, or should I offer it to someone whose needs exceed mine? Shall I ignore the confinement order to assist a friend or family member? Every single decision, big or small, has an ethical component, and the way in which we respond to all these questions is what eventually enables us to aspire to a better life. I agree with this. But we need to choose, and we need to choose wisely. We need to choose life. And if we choose absent God, if we choose based on our human wisdom, we're screwed. Excuse my language, but that's just the way it is. So I don't know Klaus Schwab. I don't know if he fears God. It doesn't seem like it if he's pushing top-down government control and globalism. If he fears God, he would subscribe to a more humane vision of politics and human liberty. I want to see what he says about utilitarian stuff. Like all notions of moral philosophy, the idea of common good is elusive and contestable. Since the pandemic started, it has provoked furious debates about whether to use a utilitarian calculus when trying to tame the pandemic, or to stick to the sacrosanct principle of sanctity of life. Well, here we go. Yeah, this is basically the line in the sand. You pro-life, or you part of the Borg? You can see the volunteers in the top right of your screen cleaning the memorial. So, someone says here in Klaus Schwab's book, quote, "The presence of disease kills people, and the absence of livelihood also kills people." That's a very good point, end quote. Very good point. Very good point. I've been saying since the beginning of this so-called pandemic and the mismanagement thereof that the cure cannot be worse than the disease. We have to let people be free. We have to. And we have to take care of the vulnerable, like Granny and little baby Jimmy or whoever it is. We have to protect the vulnerable. People naturally do that anyway. We know when our loved ones are vulnerable, and we know how to protect them. We don't need a government imposing arbitrary one-size-fits-all nonsense on us. There are hundreds of times more deaths because of the mismanagement than there would have been if they just let people use their common sense and protect their loved ones. I believe. I could be wrong, but I think there are hundreds of times more death. That means two orders of magnitude. So not tens more, but hundreds more deaths that will have resulted when all is said and done from the mismanagement than if we had done nothing at all. Now that testing and contact tracing capabilities are widely available, many individual and collective decisions will of necessity involve complex cost-benefit analyses and even sometimes a cruel utilitarian calculus. I'm glad that he admits that it's cruel. He does put it in quotes, quotation marks. But the utilitarian calculus is cruel. Let's see if the word freedom comes up anywhere in his book. Another aspect that is critical for social contracts in Western democracies pertains to liberties and freedom. There's currently a growing concern that the fight against this pandemic and the future ones will lead to the creation of permanent surveillance societies. This issue is explored in more detail in the chapter on technological reset, but suffice to say that a state emergency can only be justified when a threat is public, universal, and existential, which it is not in the case of COVID, by the way. It's official. They changed the definition of pandemic so that they could accommodate this non-lethal. Even Klaus Schwab says it's the least lethal. Where does he say it? He says it's the least lethal pandemic in 2,000 years. There's no denying that the COVID-19 virus has more often than not been a personal catastrophe for the millions infected by it and for their families and communities. That is true. Whatever the COVID-19 virus may be, I don't know. However, at a global level, if viewed in terms of the percentage of the global population affected, the corona crisis is, so far, one of the least deadly pandemics the world has experienced over the last 2,000 years. Bingo. Hello. In all likelihood, unless the pandemic evolves in an unforeseen way, the consequences of COVID-19 in terms of health and mortality will be mild compared to previous pandemics. Boom. So you've heard it from the horse's mouth here. It is, so far, the least deadly pandemic the world has ever experienced over the past 2,000 years. Take advantage. We should take advantage of this unprecedented opportunity to reimagine our world. You get the point. We should take advantage of this unprecedented opportunity to reimagine our world in a bid to make it better and more resilient, a more resilient one as it emerges on the other side of this crisis. Yeah. Both the far right and the far left will take advantage of the crisis to promote a protectionist agenda with higher barriers to the free flow of capital goods and people. Well, people are going to take advantage of the system. Yeah, there are people who are opportunists on both sides, left and right. I'm not on the left, I'm not on the right for that very reason. And it doesn't have to be extreme either. Take advantage of this unique window of opportunity to redesign a more sustainable economy for the greater good of our societies. Enlightened leadership, some leaders and decision makers who were already at the forefront of the fight against climate change may want to take advantage of the shock inflicted by the pandemic to implement long-lasting and wider environmental changes. They will, in effect, make good use of the pandemic by not letting the crisis go to waste. The exhortation of different leaders to build it back better goes in that direction. So does a dual declaration made by these people suggesting that clean energy transitions could help kickstart economies. Okay. Take advantage of the COVID stimulation packages to kickstart the nature-positive economy. It's all about this ecological movement, which I, from firsthand experience, know is full of demonic, godless baby killers who are the enemies of humanity. That's my experience working for Greenpeace in the 80s. And the open Marxist feminist circles that were chanting death to humanity, and we can save a tree by killing a human, this sort of thing. It's not a joke. This is real. These people hate humanity. Not all of them. But what am I doing now? Where am I? I'm here. Yeah, so the ecological movement is populated by people, some people who are enemies, not only of God, but enemies of humanity. So I'll leave it there. I am really hoping and praying that there's a substantial change for the better. The mandates get dropped. But it has to go deeper than that. It must go deeper than that. It has to be the true and lasting conversion of each and every sinner. That's the only way. I mean, we're not going to have peace on this earth. Jesus Christ, the God-man, promised that there will be weeds among the wheat, and that till the very end, there will be wolves among the sheep. So we can hope for it, we can pray for it, but don't expect it. Do not expect paradise on earth. It's not promised to us, and in fact, it's promised to us that we will not have paradise on earth until Christ comes again and destroys this creation, excuse me, and replaces it with a new creation, right? A new heaven and a new earth. But it's still good to hope and pray for positive change because there are people's lives on the line. The main goal is the salvation of souls. But we also have to steward this planet. We have to steward the planet. We have to care for our brothers and sisters. We have to stop killing the innocent children in the womb. We have to stop killing the elderly in these so-called care homes. There are lawsuits around the world, and even here in Quebec, against politicians who mismanaged the care of the so-called care of the elderly. It was basically just a mass involuntary euthanasia. Look at Great Britain. Look at what's happened here in Quebec. Those are two bold examples where it's just like outrageous, the lack of respect for human life. And of course, there have been tens of millions, I don't know how many million children destroyed in the womb. And if they get this fourth trimester that they're pushing for, or this fictional fourth trimester, how can there be 4 trimesters? But after birth, there's another period where you're not autonomous, you're not a human being, and then so we're able to kill them on the doctor's table after having extracted their very valuable and useful organs and stem cells and all that sort of thing. So it's a nightmare. It's a demonic, fallen world. And the godless baby killers are in control. They're not going to give up control just because a few truckers honk and a few people walk the streets. But I am in support of them because God's on their side. God is on their side. They are an instrument of God. And these same people who are praising God, whether they know it or not, and they're chanting Hosanna in the highest as Jesus enters on the ass into Jerusalem, they're the same ones who are going to yell and scream, "Crucify him. We have no God but Caesar," right? These are the same people. So don't be naive about these good, wholesome, hardworking, blue-collar people and workers and families. Don't be naive. They are capable of turning on a dime and trampling on you. Okay, they're capable of everything. But I support the people. I support the people to the extent that they're Catholic, and I support them to the extent that they love truth. And they can all turn. If we replace all those in power with good, wholesome, hardworking people, my guess is they would just transform into the same sort of monsters, because that's what power does. Power, I'm not naive about this. I don't think there are two types of people: good people, nice people that are for truth and freedom, and then the evil people who are oppressing us. You put me in Trudeau's position, I don't think I'd be much better. I don't think I would do much better. How could I? I mean, the constraints are overwhelming. It would take a miracle, and that's what it would have to be. It would just have to be a very prayerful execution of my duties as Prime Minister. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's a complete joke to even think about it. I don't even have a houseplant or a pet, much less a child or any responsibilities. But my point here is that anyone that is given power and responsibility is challenged and tested and tempted. And I have a lot of sympathy for them. I don't wish ill on Trudeau, on Monsieur Legault. I don't wish ill on Joe Biden or Anthony Fauci, any of them. Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all of them. I wish them all well. But for the grace of God go I. And they're spiritually blind to a certain extent. I'm spiritually blind to a certain extent. We're all spiritually blind to different degrees. So we need to see our brothers and sisters as just that, brothers and sisters. And we're trying to help each other to get to heaven. That is the goal. So let's hope, let's pray, let's support these populist uprising grassroots movements, and don't worry about the so-called leaders. Oh, where is my donation going to go? I gave money to the truckers movement, but I heard a rumor about the leaders that they used to support Obama or the Liberal Party or NDP or whatever. Who cares? That's irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Support the movement for freedom. Support the groundswell, this grassroots populist movement. Support it with your prayers. And don't be naive about it. You know these people are just people. They're not saints, most of them. I think there's saints in there among them. I hope to go to heaven, so I hope that I will ultimately be a saint. I'm a work in progress. I think these people are a work in progress. There are many signs, many, many touching signs that line the fence in front of the Parliament buildings. Thank you, truckers. And I was very pleased to discover a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary here, right ensconced in a little shrine, the official sculpture in the official building of the Parliament buildings at those outer gates. If you go into the gate, turn around and look back at that wall, you will see at a certain one of the entrance points, you will see the Blessed Virgin Mary, and someone hung wooden rosary beads on the statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The statue itself, I tried to get a picture, but my wife is anti-Catholic, so she did not really want to, and my friend with the camera, his phone was completely frozen, didn't work at all. The statue is about 1.5 feet tall, I would say. Yeah, 1.5 feet tall. Very cute little statue of what looks like, not sure, but it kind of looks like the miraculous medal image. I wonder if I could find that. I'll find it next time. I'm going to wrap it up here. I haven't had my breakfast yet. It's currently 11 in the morning, Sunday here in Montreal. And I really, really appreciated and enjoyed my time in Ottawa. Thank God for these people. Pray for these people. Let's stand together for truth, liberté, freedom, and let's make it happen on Monday. Okay? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk very soon. God bless.